I'm a student of intelligence. That means I study intelligence. Because I realize that a lot of people are ignorant on the subject of intelligence. The greatest assumption you can make where intelligence is concerned is the assumption of once intelligent, always intelligent. It doesn't work like that. I have discovered that the day you assume a position of static intelligence, then you begin to fall. However, and so the comfort of intelligence has robbed many people, but I want to talk about different levels of intelligence. You know, the first level of intelligence is what I call academic intelligence. And academic intelligence is what gets you a job. So you want to get a job somewhere and then they ask for your papers, isn't it? So they want to see what you scored in mathematics and all that. But you do realize that the higher you rise, the less the importance of your academic intelligence, isn't it? So when you get to a point, what is important is, can you get the job done, not what did you score in school. Is that true? So that's the first level of intelligence, academic intelligence. Next level of intelligence is emotional intelligence. This will get you promoted very well. All right? But what makes you the boss is your social intelligence, your ability to make the right connections and solve problems. But what will keep you relevant and what will keep you above all others is spiritual intelligence. Now, how do you locate yourself? If you still believe everything your teacher told you when you were in school and you feel entitled because you went to a good school or you graduated with a good grade, then you are at the lowest level of intelligence. That's academic intelligence. Then if you believe that because people like you, they will help you to get to the top, then you are the second level of intelligence, emotional intelligence. You see, the truth is, emotional intelligence will not take you beyond what people feel is your entitlement. No level of emotional intelligence can make a person concede his own entitlement to you. Now, social intelligence is when you are now at a place where you are able to make those connections, you are sociable, build the right networks, and so on and so forth. But then social intelligence will not work in unreasonable societies. When you have done work, like some of us have done in different places, even here you work for the county, for instance, and then to get your money is another prayer point. So let me break it down further because I really want you to understand. How many of you, when you were in school, you did something like this? 2x plus 5 equals 20. How many of you have ever used 2x plus 5 equals 20 to eat? So how many of you are wondering, why did we learn it? So, academic intelligence is knowing how to solve 2x plus 5 equals 20. Emotional intelligence is knowing how to mobilize and inspire people to help you solve 2x plus 5 equals 20. Social intelligence is using 2x plus 5 equals 20 to find solutions to problems. And that's what I do. And this will help somebody. This is, if you sum up what I do with organizations and even with governments is this. Everybody has a 2x plus 5 equal 20. The problem is the x, isn't it? My problem is solve for x. So when I come to an organization, first thing I want to find what is x. Then solve for x. How do you solve for x? Very simple. 2x equals 20 minus 5. X equals 20 minus 5 over 2. That means for you to solve x, you first identify x, then you isolate x. You cannot solve a problem you have not isolated. Now, what a lot of people do is instead of isolating it, they generalize it. So it now becomes 2x plus 5x plus. Now, but spiritual intelligence is when you realize you had the wrong equation. You were working with the wrong equation. Is somebody hearing me today? Now, why is this important? It's because I have seen too many Christians apply their faith and they experience a shipwreck because they were working with the wrong equation. I have been a victim of that. There was a gentleman I knew many years ago who looked like a very, very rich man. And when he died, this guy owed about 9 billion. And the children, the family had a big problem. And I began to look at it. I love what we heard from Santonomy this morning, because I began to look at my life. This was years ago. And experience is not the best teacher, it's the most painful. It is the best teacher if it is somebody else's experience. That is why we are to learn by instruction and the experiences of others. The wise person learns from the experience of others, from the mistake of others, but the fool insists on making his own. Is somebody hearing me? Now, I've been a victim. People come to me with fantastic ideas, fantastic investment opportunities. Everything looks good. Then I get involved. And then everything goes bust. I don't know if you've ever been in such a place before. I found myself owing successfully. Are you hearing me? When you owe somebody 100,000, that's not you remember it. When you need accountants to tell you exactly how much you owe, how many people know what I'm talking about? That you don't know it. Now that's where I was. How did I get there? I was working with the wrong equation. And the people that got me there have gone. So I am left to deal with a mess, paying debts in different countries in different currencies. Then, John chapter 10, verse 27. My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. So I discovered he cannot be the one leading me into this international debt. That means I am doing my own thing. I am working with the wrong equation. Then I saw Psalm 119, verse 67. Oh, and my life changed forever. 119, verse 67, it says, before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. That means the only reason I got into debt was because I was working on the wrong equation. That means what I was doing was not his word for my life. Because if it is his word for my life, the Bible says his commandments are not grievous. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. It didn't say he leads me into international debt. Is somebody hearing me today? He said, as many as received in John chapter 1 verse 12, to them gave he power to become sons of God. But you are a son of God. But then Romans 8:14 tells you how to manifest. He says, as many as are led by the Spirit, they are the sons of God. So you can be a son and die like a servant if you are not led by the Spirit. You can be a son and experience the affliction of a servant because you are working on your own equation, not his equation for your life. Romans 8:19 says the whole of creation is waiting for the manifestations of the sons, or waiting for the manifestation of those who are led by the Spirit. The only way to manifest as a son is to be led by the Spirit. The Phillips translation says the whole creation is on tiptoe to see the wonderful sight of the sons of God coming into their own. So God expects us to hear from him. He expects us to be led by him in everything we do. Isaiah 48 verse 17. Isaiah 48:17. It says, I am the Lord thy God, your Redeemer, the Holy One, who teaches you to profit. But how do you profit? Who leads you by the way you should go. That is how to profit. He leads you. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 7. It says, the manifestation of the Spirit is given to everyone to profit. So, he is the spirit of profit. I cannot have the spirit of profit in me and be making losses and be an international debtor. Never. Never. And so many people like me have been thrown into that situation because we were working on the wrong equation. It looked good. And let me tell you something. The fact that you are sincere does not mean you are right. Is somebody hearing me? Paul the apostle was sincere. He thought he was working for God when he was killing Christians. Many Christians have sincerely messed up their lives by working with the wrong equation. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 10. It says, there are, it may be, so many kinds of voices or languages in the world. None of them is without significance. So there are different, King James says, many voices. Listen, there is the voice of your experience. Many people are listening to the voice of their experience, thinking they are listening to the voice of God. Many people are listening to the voice of their experience, that this is how I did it before. And that is how, listen, that is how Moses missed the promised land. He listened to the voice of his experience. Because the first time God said, hit the rock, water will come out. He hit it. The second time, God said, speak to the rock. Moses said, Apana. Last time, we hit it. The voice of his experience. Now, let me tell you why it is dangerous. He heeded the voice of his experience, hit the stone. Guess what? Water came out. So the fact, and this is good for ministers, the fact that water is coming out is not proof that you are doing the right thing. Are you hearing me? The water was coming out not because of Moses, but in spite of Moses, because of God's love for his people. God will bypass the stupidity of the leadership to bless the people. The voice of your experience. This is how we've always done it. That got me into trouble also. I was pastoring, then I went to America, and God said, the thing for you here is not pastoring, I'm moving you into consulting full time. I didn't understand that. What I understand is church. Is somebody hearing me? So I started pastoring. You know what I'm about to say. Here I am pastoring the church in America, and my family and one or two other people are the only Africans. Huge church full of Americans. God said, I didn't send you. So one day God says, when it finally dawns on me that, wow, that season of my life was over. Is somebody hearing me? Then God said, I said, okay, so what do I do with the church? God said, there's a church on the hill. It is called so and so. You go and hand over every member of your church, go there, and then you sit down and listen. The voice of experience. Then there is the voice of your education. When you have understood too much economics, you've economized on the blessing of God on your life. So, when God is speaking, your education is fighting back. I remember telling my dad, before, he also passed away last year. I remember telling my dad when my mom was sick, when we were much younger. I said, Dad, you're a medical doctor. You cannot afford to look at mommy's situation like a doctor. You have to look at it like a believer. Because he was looking at it just from the medical perspective. That means 2 + 2 = 4. She's going to die. Is somebody hearing me? That's the voice of your education. The voice of your education teaches you when you see these symptoms, this is the conclusion. Then there's the voice of your emotions. Remember it says there are many voices. The voice of your emotions. So boy meets girl. Boy like girl. Girl fine. So boy feel, God is speaking. God is speaking. So boys say, and now what compounds the matter is because boy has thought about girl so much. So boy now dreams about girl. So boy comes to girl and says, man, I was dreaming about you. I feel that God is speaking. Continue. Then let's look at it from girl side. When boy comes, like when I was reaching my wife, boy is coming in a Lexus. You understand what I'm saying? Legady's Benz. So the minute girl sees that one, girl said, I bind the devil. Then boy come, boy fine, boy smell good, boy look good, boy speak good. Girl says, surely the Spirit of the Lord is in this place. That, the voice of your emotions, what you want, that has sentenced so many people to a life of disaster. Then there is the voice of society. That, every country has what I call the national average level of mediocrity. And the way you hear the national average level of mediocrity, no, this is Kenya. This can't happen here. This is here. Yeah. The minute you subscribe to that national average level of thinking and mediocrity, you will always be below average. Is somebody hearing me today? So, let me show you from scripture what I'm saying. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11. 1 Kings 19, verse 11. He said, Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord. Behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But was the Lord there? After the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. Next verse. After the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. Now, wait. Do you know what would have happened today? If it was here and, hey, a great and strong, you don't even need all the others, just the strong wind. You now start Strong Wind Ministries International. And the strong wind will be passing. Meanwhile, God is not there. Earthquake Ministries International. The ground is shaking. God is not there. Strong Fire Ministry. And the Lord is not there. And then a still small voice. And then we now see that's where God is. Listen, God is not always spectacular. Many have missed the supernatural in their search for the spectacular. Many have missed the supernatural in their search for spectacular. And let me say, the spectacular is not necessarily the spiritual. The obvious is not always correct. And the easiest is not always the best. Spectacular is not necessarily spiritual. Obvious is not always correct. And the easiest is not always the best. Spiritual intelligence has a great bearing on your faith, because let me tell you, I talked about the wrong and right equation. Faith works within the context of purpose. It says the just shall live by faith. That means faith should be as easy as breathing. Is somebody hearing me? It should be as easy as breathing. If you are conscious that you are breathing, then there is something wrong. Like we heard about asthma. If you are conscious that you are breathing, there is a problem. The day your faith becomes a struggle, you are working with the wrong equation. Is somebody hearing me? When you go to the national park, you go with a guide. The guide knows the park, he knows the terrain, he knows how to communicate with his guys. When you get there without the guide, you are looking for lion, you go in this direction, you go far. When you are with the guide, he said the lion was spotted here this morning, and he takes you. Living on earth without the leading of the Spirit is like being in the park without a guide. You will waste your time, you will waste your resources, you will get sick, you will get into debt. Your dignity is challenged. Is somebody hearing me? It says, John chapter 16 verse 13, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. If he's going to guide you into all truth, does that include the truth about your life? He will guide you into the truth concerning your life. It's not, listen, faith was never meant to be an uphill thing. Faith was never meant to be something that by the time you finally get there, you cannot breathe, you cannot stand because you have been walking by faith. That's That's not the way faith is. The just shall live by faith. It did not say the just shall struggle by faith. When you see many people, they say they are walking by faith. They struggle here. By the time they get their dignity is gone, everything is gone, even health is gone. I finally made it. It's called a triumphant entry. That I walk by faith and I will win with dignity. I will win with style. Is somebody hearing me today? So where is the challenge? The challenge starts with Hebrews chapter 1. It says verse 1. God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spoke in times past unto the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son. Now, when he says he has spoken to us by his Son, John chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Verse 14, the Word became flesh. When he says in these last days he's spoken to us by his Son, he's saying my primary way of communicating with you in this dispensation is my word. But if you don't have the word in you, how will he communicate? Are you hearing me today? Many people will not hear God because they are not devoted to his word. You want everybody else to study the word and then just come and prophesy. Are you hearing me today? Look, John chapter 15 verse 16. Let me tell you. He says, you have not chosen me. I have chosen you. I have ordained you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, and whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. Now, our being here was his idea. That is so simple, you need help to miss it. Our being on earth was not our own idea. It was his idea. And then he says, I have ordained you to bear fruit. That means you don't need to pray to bear fruit, because the lion does not pray to give birth to another lion. It's a natural process. Most Christians, the time they should be praying for the nation, they are praying to bear fruit. He says, I have ordained you to bear fruit. The fish does not pray to swim in water. It just swims. That's what it was ordained to do. No matter the economy of the jungle, the lion will not eat grass. And that is not pride. It is who he was made to be. The lion was not ordained to eat grass. He was ordained to eat flesh. So I was not ordained to struggle to bear fruit. I was ordained to bear fruit in an easy and relaxed manner. Is somebody hearing me today? So I saw certain scriptures. And this is the biggest problem. You know what the big problem is? Many times we do our own thing and then we ask him to bless it. If we will just hear and find out what he wants done, it comes blessed. So that means our biggest challenge is hearing. He said, listen, he said in John chapter 3 verse 31, he says, he who comes from above is above all. He who is of the earth is earthly and speaks of the earth. He who comes from heaven is above all. Please tell me, where did you come from? Where did you come from? You came from above. You are his idea, isn't it? So that means I am not only ordained to bear fruit, I am destined to be above all. That means if 2 of us, if 100, if 1,000 people are doing what I am doing in this country, I should be number 1. Because I'm from above. Listen, if you are not above in your respective fields, something is wrong. Is somebody hearing me today? James 1:17 says, every good and every perfect gift come from the Father of light, in whom there is no variableness or shadow of turning. So he doesn't change his mind about you being above. Your destiny, once you are from above, your destiny is to be good and perfect. God does not change his mind about that. You are a good and perfect gift to your family. You are a good and perfect gift to your nation. You are a good and perfect gift to your employer. Is somebody hearing me today?